Hello, friends. Fifth and final podcast of Chapter P in the AP Stats book. Just as a reminder, you should uh, get yourself a copy of this book and read Chapter P and do the problems I'm going to assign at the end of this podcast. It'll also be in the notes that are attached to the email you receive. And make sure you do those practice problems and get ready. We will have a test on Chapter P the second class period uh, of the school year. All right, so we left off right here. Explain how probability helps us. All right. Basically, random means that in the short term, if I flip a coin one time, I don't know whether I'm going to get heads or tails. But if I flip this coin 100 times, I'm going to expect pretty close to 50 heads and 50 tails. If I do it 1,000 times, I'm going to explain pretty close to 500 heads and 500 tails. Now, it probably won't be exact. It might be 497 and 503 or something like that. I expect a certain amount of variation. But if I were to flip a coin 1,000 times and get 96 heads and 904 tails, I would strongly suspect that there was something not fair about that coin. So this is what probability is going to do for us. We're going to use a central limit theorem to actually find how much variation we expect and then see if the data we gathered showed more variation that could be attributed to a treatment or something else that we're studying. So probability is going to be a lot of sort of common sense things, but it's also going to use some more abstract math like you've used to doing in other math classes. All right, last bullet point. Um, we'll start on this really in experimental design, but the big part of inferences is what we're doing is we identify a population, and from this large population, and generally a population is something that is too large to study all of. I couldn't reasonably go and look at every single deer in the woods of Maine. So what I would do is take a random sample of deer from the woods and then assume that whatever weights or measurements I took from this random sample would be similar to the entire population. So that's what we do. We take a smaller group, which needs to be randomly selected from a population, and we draw conclusions about the population from the sample. All right, we're going to learn that a statistic is any number or measurement that has to do with the sample, and a parameter is any number or conclusion that we reach about the population. All right, and we're going to learn how exactly we can make pretty accurate predictions about a population from a sample and the steps we need to take about sample size and collecting data that will allow us to make predictions or arrive at conclusions with a certain confidence. So you're going to come across a lot of vocabulary words that you know and maybe learn a new context to them. All right, so what are you going to do with this? You're going to read the chapter. You can rewatch these podcasts as many times as they need to. The notes, pretty much what I've said is written in bold-faced in this podcast. So let's get that assignment. You're going to read chapter P, which is pages 5 through 29, and you're going to do problems. The problems are all numbered with the chapter number first and then the problem number second. So you're going to do problems P19 through P28, which are on pages 30 to 33 of the book. The answer should be written in English sentence. AP Statistics is really a communication course more than it's a math course. You're learning to understand what is meant by what you read and then be able to articulate that back. When you take the AP exam, the reader does not know you. They're only going to know the information that you write on the test. So you need to be able to clearly say, in as few words as possible, exactly what you mean. Um, and so that's what we're going to start practicing right from day one. I would prefer that this is typed. If you want to handwrite it, your handwriting needs to be easily legible to me. If I can't read it, I'm just going to hand it back to you. All right. So if you know you're going to be a doctor and your handwriting can't be read by normal human beings, other than pharmacists, then you need to type out your answers. We'll do some work this year. Also learn how to use other programs and get charts and graphs and things you want in your work. So that's it. I look forward to meeting you all the first day of school, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer.